Prologue. Before the end. 6 months before the outbreak. Alina Hart pressed against Derek in his office, the thrill of stolen moments electric on her skin. "Jenna's at her parents' house," Derek murmured. "Mom made sure she wasn't invited to the family dinner. Said it was immediate family only." Alina smiled. She'd met the Madison family twice. Derek's father, Richard, a retired executive, her mother, Margaret, a former trauma surgeon, his brother James, and his sister-in-law, Linda. All of them were wealthy, polished, and unified in one opinion: Jenna didn't belong. "That village girl," Margaret had said at the last company event, loud enough for others to hear. "She doesn't understand our world, barely finished community college, works as a secretary." The word dripped with disdain. Richard had been blunter. Derek married beneath himself. That apartment in the city center is the only worthwhile thing she brought to the marriage, and she won't even put his name on it. Now she's gone back to that village, left him here alone. The $8 million apartment. Jenna's parents had bought it, put it in her daughter's name alone. When the marriage started falling apart, Jenna moved back to Riverside, leaving Derek in the apartment. He'd been furious that he still had no legal claim to it. "When are you going to divorce her?" Alina asked, running her fingers through his hair. "After the holidays. I just need to get her to sign the apartment over first. She moved back to that village months ago, but she still owns the apartment." There it was. Derek wasn't staying married out of love. He was staying married to an $8 million apartment he couldn't touch. "I'll get my own place," offered Alina. "You can move in with me once the divorce is final." "With what money?" Derek's voice sharpened. "Do you know how expensive?" "I'll manage. Just stop pretending you love her." He kissed her instead of answering. They both knew the truth. Derek would never divorce while Jenna controlled the apartment, and Alina could wait. Strategic patience was her specialty. She was good at it. So good that she didn't see the apocalypse coming. Chapter 1. The Fall. Day 1. The Outbreak. The screaming started during a Monday meeting. Alina saw it first through the conference room window, a woman in a blood-soaked blouse, movements jerky and wrong, eyes milky white. The creature slammed into the glass, leaving bloody handprints. Then dozens more appeared, flooding through the office like a rotting tide. "Emergency stairs," Alina commanded. Derek grabbed her hand. They ran. 3 coworkers followed. The rest stayed, waiting for official communications. Alina heard their screams as the stairwell door closed. Outside was chaos. Cars crashed into buildings, people running, dying, the infected everywhere. Derek's brother James appeared across the street, baseball bat dripping with black blood. "Car, now!" They piled into a stolen truck. 2 coworkers didn't make it. One got swarmed at a gas station, the other got bitten, and James put him down with a single shot to the head, efficient and cold. By the time they reached the Madison family compound, only Alina remained. Day 2. The compound. The gated community of 12 houses behind an 8-foot brick wall. Derek's family had already started fortifying. Margaret met them at the gate and her face lit up when she saw Alina. "Oh, thank God. Alina, you're safe." She hugged her warmly. "I'm so glad he saved you." "Not found you, saved you." The distinction was clear. "Jenna's at her parents' house," Margaret said, looking around. "Riverside, where she's been living for months. Phones are down, roads are chaos." "We'll try to reach her later," Margaret said briskly, "once we're secure. Alina, dear, you're good with logistics?" "Yes, ma'am." "Excellent. You'll handle inventory and rationing. Derek, you and James manage security." Just like that, Alina was family. Accepted, valued. Everything Jenna had never been. Linda, James's wife, was less welcoming. "You're the colleague Margaret keeps comparing to Jenna," she said carefully during their first inventory meeting. "I'm here to help keep people alive." "Are you? Or are you positioning yourself to replace a missing wife? Don't think I haven't noticed." That night, Derek came to Alina's room. "I should try to reach Jenna. The roads are overrun. You die trying." "You're right. You're always right." They made love quietly, urgently, and Alina felt victorious. Chapter 2. The Descent Begins. Week 2. The food crisis hit on day 10. 8 weeks of supplies at current consumption, Alina explained to Margaret, James, and Derek. We need strict rationing. Cut portions by 20%. Prioritize protein for scavenging teams. Children and the elderly get basic nutrition only. James objected. You want to starve children? My children? I want everyone to survive long enough to find more food. Derek supported her. Alina's right. We ration now or we all die later. Margaret agreed. The rationing began. Week 3. Margaret fell ill with a fever. Nothing serious in the old world, potentially fatal now. During her illness, Alina stepped into the leadership vacuum, managing supplies, resolving disputes, and making herself indispensable. You're amazing, Derek told her on day 20. You keep this place running. I don't know what I'd do without you. The warmth flooded through her. This was what she'd wanted, to be needed, to be chosen. That night, alone, Alina held her close in the darkness. I think Jenna's probably dead, he whispered. She's too soft, too kind. She wouldn't make the hard choices needed to survive. But you're strong, ruthless when necessary. That's why we'll survive. Together, Alina confirmed. She fell asleep feeling victorious. The ghost of Jenna was finally fading. Week 4. 6-year-old Sarah stood in the meal line, looking up at Alina with hollow eyes. Why is my portion smaller than Uncle Derek's? Alina explained patiently. Because your uncle needs strength to protect us. But I'm hungry. We're all hungry, sweetheart. Then why does he get more? The child's voice cracked. If I'm hungry, I should get to eat. Life isn't fair, honey. You're mean. Linda appeared after Sarah left. Was that necessary, being cold to a starving 6-year-old? I was honest. The food is what it is. You really don't feel anything for them, do you? Linda's voice was sad. You've been waiting for Jenna to be declared dead so you can stop being the mistress and become the wife. Margaret approves of you being Derek's colleague, his friend, but she knows you're sleeping with him while his wife is missing. She ignores it because you're useful. Then everyone's getting what they want. Are we? Or are you playing a long game, waiting for Derek's guilt to fade enough that he'll choose you permanently? That night, alone, Alina asked herself if Linda was right. The answer came quickly. Yes. Jenna was probably dead. When Derek finally accepted that, he'd need someone, and Alina would be there. Patient, indispensable, perfect. Chapter 3. The Revelation. Day 31. James returned from a scavenging run with earth-shattering news. There's a settlement forming, west side, near Riverside. Someone is organizing survivors, maybe 100 people. They've got walls, organized defense, sustainable food. He paused. The leader is some woman with abilities, water manipulation, ice creation. They call her the water goddess. Derek went completely still. Riverside. What if it's Jenna? What if she's alive? Hope blazed across his face like sunrise. Alina's world crumbling. That's a big assumption, she said carefully. Could be anyone. Could be her. Derek turned to James. How do I find them? West along Highway 7, but Derek. I have to know, James, if there's even a chance Jenna's alive. I abandoned her when this started, chose family over finding her. I've been living with that guilt for 6 weeks. Derek, be logical, Alina said, desperation creeping into her voice. You're one man alone in a zombie wasteland. Your survival odds are maybe 50%. The compound needs you. Your family needs you. I need you. Derek finally looked at her, really looked at her. In his eyes, Alina saw the truth she'd been avoiding. She'd never really won. She'd just been convenient. I have to go, Alina. You understand, don't you? She's my wife. Even if she doesn't want you back? Even then, I owe her that much. That night, Alina went to his room at 2 a.m. He was packing supplies. You're making a mistake, she said. It's not a mistake, he began. Derek, be honest. If Jenna's really alive and leading the settlement, what happens when you show up and confess you've been sleeping with me for weeks, that you chose me over looking for her? His face went pale. I'll tell her the truth, that it was a mistake. Was it every night? Or was it the first honest thing you've done in years? Alina moved closer. You never loved Jenna. You loved that $8 million apartment her parents bought, that she was safe and convenient and didn't demand much. But you love me. That's not... Go to Riverside. Find your wife, confess your betrayal, and watch her reject you, because that's what will happen. She's powerful enough to lead 100 survivors, and she'll look at you and see exactly what you are. Weak. A cheater. You'll spend the rest of your life as her husband in name only. And what's the alternative? Stay here, with me. Build something real. I can't, Derek said, and the words burst out like a confession. I love her, Alina. I always have. The affair with you, it was real, but it was never love. It was ego. It was flattering that someone like you wanted me. But Jenna? She's my wife, my partner, the person I should have chosen every single time. The truth hung in the air. I see, Alina said quietly. Go find your wife. I hope she's everything you remember. She left before he could see her face crack. Day 32. Derek left at dawn. The compound watched him go. Alina stood apart, feeling her skin splinter. Margaret approached. Are you all right? Your son just left to reunite with his wife, the wife he's been cheating on with me. Why would I be angry? Margaret blinked. I thought you and Derek were just close friends. Did you, really? Alina laughed bitterly. Or did you just pretend because it was convenient, because you wanted the daughter-in-law you actually approved of? She walked away before Margaret could respond. Chapter 4. The Visit. Day 37. Derek returned with 3 escorts from Riverside. His face was haunted. Everyone, Derek said quietly, Jenna's alive and powerful. She's built something incredible. Sustainable food, clean water, real security. She's offered to take us all in. Joy erupted through the compound. Our Jenna, Margaret cried, tears streaming. She's alive. Our Jenna, as if they hadn't spent years making her feel worthless. There are conditions, Derek said flatly. She wants to meet our leadership first. She specifically wants to meet the person managing logistics. His gaze found Alina. She wants to meet you. Day 38. The journey. The walk took 6 hours. The closer they got to Riverside, the cleaner everything became. Fewer zombies, better roads, signs of organized patrols. Then they saw the walls. 20 feet of reinforced concrete and steel. Guard towers, solar panels, gardens beyond the walls. This wasn't survival. This was civilization. Damn, James breathed. Alina stared at everything she'd failed to build. A tall, muscular man met them at the gate. Derek, welcome back. These must be your brother and the logistics specialist. His gaze lingered on Alina. The mistress. The word landed like a slap. The colleague, Alina corrected coldly. Is that what we're calling it? Ryan Mitchell's smile didn't reach his eyes. Follow me. Jenna's expecting you. Inside, Riverside was paradise. Children playing, people working in gardens, clean water flows from fountains. Everything Alina had failed to create. Ryan led them to a training facility. Inside, people sparred systematically, and in the center, controlling a floating sphere of water, was Jenna. Beautiful, confident, powerful. This wasn't Derek's timid wife from his stories. This was a leader. Jenna released the water and turned. Her eyes met Derek's first. Something painful and complicated passed between them. Then she looked at James and smiled warmly. James, I understand. You had your family to protect. Finally, her gaze landed on Alina. The temperature dropped. So, Jenna said quietly, you're Alina, Derek's colleague, the one Margaret kept praising as so much more suitable than me. The one who was sleeping with my husband 6 months before the outbreak even started? The room went silent. James's head whipped toward Derek. 6 months? You told me it started after the outbreak. Jenna, I told you that in confidence, Derek said. His face went white. Did you? Jenna turned back to Alina. Let me guess the timeline. You met at work. Innocent flirtation, lunch dates, drinks, hotel rooms. Derek told you I was too simple for him, that he was going to leave me after the holidays. Each word was a hammer blow. How did you... Alina started. You don't need to know. Just know that Karma is a bitch, and this time, she's with me. How do you know all this? Derek whispered. That's insane, Alina said, her haughty demeanor returning. So just because Derek cheated on you, you'll punish us all? Where's the justice in that? Justice? Jenna stepped closer. Or is this simply the logical endpoint of choices you were already making? When you slept with my husband while I was visiting my parents, did you ever think about me? Or was I just an obstacle to be removed? I didn't know you. You were just a lowly village girl. I can't help it if you couldn't even keep your own man. Exactly, Jenna said calmly. I was an inconvenience, forgettable, in the way. She stopped a few feet from them. But here's what's funny. Now that I've left Derek, you could destroy our marriage. I built the settlement and saved hundreds of lives. And you? Her gaze sharpened. You helped keep 43 people barely alive while letting children starve and planning mercy killings. How do you know about that? Derek asked. I had my people interview Derek's scouts. Children showing severe malnutrition, the elderly on reduced rations, arguments about consolidating population and eliminating the weak. James grabbed Alina's arm. What is she talking about? Survival calculations, Alina said flatly. We were running out of food. You suggested exiling the elderly and starving children, Jenna corrected. You suggested sedating James' kids to spare them suffering. You were planning to poison the food supply. I did what was necessary. No, you did what fed your need for control. Jenna turned to James. Here's my offer. I'll take your group, all 43 people, feed them, house them, integrate them. That's incredibly generous. There are conditions. First, everyone works. No freeloaders. Second, Derek stays here with me. We have things to discuss. Her voice went flat. Third, she doesn't come. Silence. You can't, Alina started. I absolutely can. This is my settlement, my rules. I don't want the woman who helped destroy my marriage anywhere near what I've built. Oh, come on, Jenna, you are being petty, Alina said. Am I? Jenna pulled out another paper. December 3rd, 6 months before the outbreak, Derek took you to dinner at the Riverstone Hotel, room 412. He came home at 2 a.m. I was awake but pretended to sleep because I already knew about the affair. January 15th, you and Margaret had lunch. She told you you were perfect for Derek, that I was too simple, too provincial. Jenna's eyes were merciless. Should I continue? Alina's stomach dropped. You and Derek's family betrayed me, chose status over character. Jenna looked at Margaret. You encouraged your son to cheat, welcomed his mistress, made me feel unwelcome at family gatherings, all because you didn't fit my image. Margaret's face crumbled. I'm so sorry. I don't want your apology. I want you to understand what you did. Jenna turned back to Alina. So no, you don't come to Riverside, not because of what you might do, but because of what you've already done, what you are. May I speak with you privately? Alina asked. No. Please, 5 minutes. Jenna studied her, then nodded. Fine, everyone else out. When the door closed, Jenna fixed her with a cold stare. 4 minutes. I know what I did was wrong, Alina said carefully. Sleeping with Derek, helping destroy our marriage, making ruthless survival calculations. I know how it looks. Do you? Like I'm a monster, like I'd sacrifice anything for my own benefit. Are you? I was. Alina met her eyes. I was ambitious, selfish. I saw Derek as useful. You were just an obstacle. I didn't think of you as a person. At least you're honest. I'm asking for a chance to be better. Jenna laughed, a cold, sharp sound. You want redemption. I want to survive, and I want to prove I'm more than my worst choices. Why should I give you that chance? You slept with my husband, you would have let his niece and nephew starve, you were planning to poison the food supply. Hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening. If you liked the story and haven't subscribed yet, it really helps the channel. Now let's get back to the story. Because you're better than me, Elena said quietly. You built all this while I barely kept people alive. You saved hundreds while I calculated who to sacrifice. You're everything I pretended to be, but never was. Flattery won't work. It's not flattery, it's true. I'm standing here admitting it. That has to count for something. Why? Why should your self-awareness earn you anything? Because the alternative is leaving me to die, and you're not the kind of person who does that. Jenna was quiet for a long moment. You're right, she said finally. I am the kind of person who saves people, even people who've hurt me. She stood. But I'm also smart enough to know when someone is too toxic to save. Bringing them into my community would poison everything I've built. Your 5 minutes are up. Wait. We're done. The offer stands for everyone except you. Cold rage crystallized in Elena's chest. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. Am I? Yes, because I'm the only one who sees the world as it really is. You're building a fantasy, but the old rules are gone, Jenna. The strong survive, the weak die, and eventually your pretty settlement will face that reality. When someone stronger comes knocking, you'll wish you had someone like me, someone willing to make the hard choices. Get out. Guards escorted Elena from the building. She walked through Riverside streets, seeing everything she could have had, everything Jenna had taken from her. Not taken, built. Built while Elena was sleeping with a married man and congratulating herself on winning. By the time they reached the gates, her rage had calcified into purpose. Jenna thought she could exclude her, judge her, reject her. Fine. Elena would show her what real ruthlessness looked like. Chapter 5. The Poison. Day 40. Return to the compound. Jenna will take us, James announced to the gathered survivors. In 3 days, we evacuate to Riverside. Cheers erupted. Not all of us, Derek said quietly. Jenna won't take Elena. Everyone turned to stare. Why? Margaret demanded. Because I had an affair with her. Because Jenna knows everything. Margaret's face showed shock. An affair? Derek, how could you? Don't, Elena said flatly. Don't pretend you didn't know. Don't pretend you didn't spend months telling Derek I was better for him than his wife. Don't pretend you encouraged this. Margaret went white. Is that true, Mom? James asked. I may have said Elena was well suited to Derek's career. You encouraged the affair, Elena said. You welcomed me to family events while excluding Jenna. You made it clear she wasn't good enough. And now that she's powerful and I'm disposable, you'll pretend you are always on her side? That's not fair. None of this is fair. I'm being punished for choices we all made. Because you're not family, Linda said quietly. You were never family. You were a convenience, a mistress. When that's your only role, you're expendable. The truth hung in the air. Elena looked at the 43 people she'd kept alive. Not one met her eyes. I see, she said. You're going to Riverside, and you're going to forget I ever existed. That night, Margaret came to her room. We could vote, Refuse to go unless Jenna takes you too. And then what? 43 people starve to prove a point? Children die because you want to save your conscience? No, you made the right choice. Survival over sentiment, just like I taught you. Margaret left. Elena sat alone with the bottle of sedatives Margaret had given her weeks ago for mercy killings. 3 days until evacuation. 3 days to decide who she'd become. At 3 a.m., she made her choice. Chapter 6, The Night of Reckoning. Day 42, 2 days before evacuation. Elena moved through the compound like a ghost at midnight. The central food storage had no guards. They'd grown complacent, believing rescue was coming. She found the rice, canned vegetables, and dried meat, everything set aside for tomorrow's breakfast. She pulled out the sedatives, crushed them carefully, mixed them into the food with precise measurements. Not enough to kill, just enough to make people too sick to travel. If they couldn't evacuate, they'd need her again. The logic was perfect, cold, ruthless. She finished as dawn approached and returned to her room. Day 43, 1 day before evacuation. "Something's wrong with the food," Linda said at dawn, finding Elena in the kitchen. "What do you mean?" "It tastes off, like chemicals. The rice, the vegetables, everything from breakfast." "How much did people eat?" "Most of breakfast, including the children." Elena's stomach dropped. The children? She'd calculated portions to avoid them, but no. Commitment to the plan. "We need to tell Margaret." Margaret was already treating patients. 6 people with stomach cramps, nausea, and vomiting, including Sarah and Tommy. Sarah lay curled on a cot, her thin frame trembling. "My tummy hurts." Tommy was actively vomiting, too weak to sit up. This wasn't supposed to happen. "They were so hungry," Linda said softly. "They ate everything we gave them. First time in weeks they didn't complain." Margaret examined them quickly, then looked up. "They've been poisoned." Everyone froze. "What?" Linda whispered. "This isn't food poisoning. These symptoms are too uniform, too fast-acting. Someone contaminated the food deliberately." All eyes turned to Elena. "You think I did this?" Elena kept her expression shocked. "Who else had access?" Margaret's voice was cold. "Who else has been acting strange since Derek returned? Who else talked about consolidating population? That's insane." "Is it?" James said, understanding dawning. "If we're too sick to travel, we can't go to Riverside. We'd have to stay. And you'd need us to manage the crisis." "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" Margaret pulled a prescription bottle from her pocket, empty, with Elena's name on the label. "I gave you sedatives weeks ago, asked for them back when Derek returned with hope. You said you'd returned them, but I found this hidden in your room this morning." "Someone planted that." "Who?" Everyone here was relieved about the evacuation. Everyone except you. James grabbed her arm. "What did you do?" The room spun. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. "I did what was necessary," Elena heard herself say. "Necessary?" Linda's voice rose. "You poisoned children because you were angry about being exiled? They're not going to die. I measured the doses carefully, just enough to delay." She stopped, realized what she'd admitted. The horror on every face confirmed it. "You poisoned children, my grandchildren, for leverage, to prove you need me," Elena was shouting, control shattered. "You are going to abandon me after everything I've done." "Everything you've done?" James shoved her against the wall. "You starved children, planned mercy killings, destroyed a family, and now you've poisoned people because your feelings were hurt. I kept you alive." "You kept yourself powerful," Linda screamed. "You never cared about us. You cared about control, about winning some sick competition with a woman who never knew you existed." Derek appeared in the doorway, took in the scene. "What happened?" Your mistress poisoned the food, including your niece and nephew. Derek looked at Alina, really looked at her. In his eyes, she saw the final death of whatever regard he'd once had. Get her out of here. Derek, please! I said, get her out. Give her some supplies and exile her, now. But the children? Will survive because the doses were calculated not to kill, just like you said. Derek turned away. You are always good at calculations, just never good at being human. Chapter 7. Transformation. Week 7. Alone. The first week alone nearly killed her. By day 5, she was starving. By day 7, she was desperate enough to scavenge a convenience store. 3 zombies were inside. She fought, ugly, clumsy, got bit on the arm, shallow, stabbed wildly. 1 went down. The second grabbed her, she stabbed its throat. The third lunged, she fell, it landed on top, teeth inches from her face. Then someone pulled it off and put a crossbow bolt through its skull. You're bit, the man said, examining her arm. Lucky, any deeper and you'd be turning. He bandaged it. You're new to this. I'm Marcus. Got a group 2 blocks north. What skills do you have? Logistics, resource management, strategic planning. He smiled slightly. Still alive, that counts. Come on. She followed him to an office building with 12 survivors. Their leader was Patricia, mid-40s, a former police officer. You can stay, but you work. Alina integrated quickly, made herself useful, organized inventory, improved rationing, calculated optimal scavenging routes. Within 2 weeks, she was indispensable. Week 10. The first kill. Raiders came at night, 20 armed survivors hitting smaller groups for supplies. We should relocate, Patricia said. Or we eliminate them, Alina said. Kill their leaders, create chaos, let them tear themselves apart. That's murder. That's survival. They'll hit us eventually. Better we strike first. Patricia looked uncomfortable. I'm not sure. Then let me handle it. Give me Marcus and 2 others. We'll do it quietly. Silence stretched. Make it clean, Patricia finally said. That night, Alina led a team to the raiders' camp. They waited until 3 a.m., snuck in while most slept. Alina slit the leader's throat personally, felt the hot blood on her hands, watched his eyes go wide, watched him die. Felt nothing. No guilt, no horror, no remorse, just satisfaction. They killed the second in command, the third, the fourth. The raiders woke to find their leadership dead. Chaos erupted, fighting, fragmentation, exactly as predicted. When Alina returned, Patricia asked, Is it done? Yes, 4 clean kills. They didn't suffer. Patricia studied her. You're very good at this. To become what the situation requires. Do not let conscience slow you down. Alina smiled. Thank you. Because this was who she'd become. Someone who could kill without hesitation, calculate without emotion, survive without conscience. Week 16. The Horde. The zombie horde hit without warning. Hundreds surrounded the building. The siege lasted 3 days. On day 3, they broke through. Zombies flooded in. Patricia died first, pulled down by 5 of them. Marcus tried to save her, got bitten, and put his gun to his head before turning. Alina ran to the roof, barricaded the door, listened to the screams below. Everyone dead. She was alone again. Trapped on the roof, surrounded by zombies, nowhere to run. This was it. Then she felt it. Warmth in her chest, spreading through her body. The zombie core she'd swallowed yesterday, an experiment hoping for powers, now it was activating. But wrong. Not clean. Not controlled. corrupted. Alina screamed as her veins turned black, as her skin paled and cracked, as something dark and terrible flooded through her. The zombies stopped advancing. They stared at her. Then, as one, they knelt. Alina looked at her hands. Translucent skin, black veins, claws instead of fingernails. She could feel them. All of them. Every zombie in the city. Thousands of primitive minds connected to hers. She was their queen. The Zombie King. And with this power, she could do anything. Destroy anyone. Even Jenna. Especially Jenna. Alina threw back her head and laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. Finally she had real power, and she knew exactly where to use it. Chapter 8. The March to Riverside. Week 18. Controlling the horde was easier than expected. They responded to her will, her thoughts. But the transformation had a cost. Her body was dying, slowly, inevitably. The corruption is eating her from the inside. She didn't need food or water or sleep, but she was in constant pain. And the ghosts came. Not real, hallucinations born from corruption and guilt. But she heard them anyway. Sarah and Tommy appeared first at night, holding hands, eyes too large in thin faces. "You poisoned us," Sarah said. "You survived because Margaret stopped you in time. But you would have killed us, wouldn't you, if it meant getting what you wanted?" Alina had no answer, because it was true. Margaret's ghost appeared next, throat slit. "You destroyed my son's marriage." "I did?" "You encouraged it." "I did. I was wrong. We were both wrong. But I tried to make amends. You never did. You just kept taking." Derek's ghost appeared, not dead, but hollow, empty. "I thought I loved you, but you didn't love me. You loved the idea of winning, of taking something that belonged to someone else." "I helped people." "No, you used people, kept them dependent, manipulated them, hurt them when they tried to leave." Ghost Jenna tilted her head. "That's why you're coming to Riverside. Not to apologize, but to destroy what I built because you can't stand that I succeeded where you failed." The truth burned. "Yes," Alina admitted, "I'm going to destroy everything you've built, and when you're begging me to stop, I'll whisper in your ear the same thing you said when you rejected me. You're not good enough. You never were. You'll fail." "Maybe, but at least I'll try." The ghosts followed her as she led her horde west, toward Riverside, toward Jenna, toward the final confrontation. Week 20. The Forest. Alina's horde reached the forests outside Riverside. From here, she could see the walls. Tall, imposing, perfect. Everything she'd failed to build. "Why her?" Alina asked the darkness. "What did she do that I didn't?" "She chose differently," Ghost Jenna said. "At every turn, she chose community over control, trust over manipulation, love over use. I could have made those choices." "Could you? Really?" Alina thought back. The affair, Margaret's approval, the poisoning, the murders, the transformation into this corrupted thing. "No," she admitted. "I couldn't. I've never been able to choose anything but power." "Then why are you here?" "To prove I was right, that Jenna's way is a weakness, that survival requires ruthlessness. Or to die trying." Alina looked at her army of zombies, thousands of corpses animated by her will, an army of the dead led by someone already more dead than alive. Maybe both, she said. She raised her corrupted arm and sent her horde forward. The attack on Riverside had begun. Chapter 9. The Siege of Riverside. Day 1. Dawn of Destruction. The zombie horde hit Riverside at first light. Alina had sent them in waves, 5,000 corrupted corpses crashing against the walls like a tsunami of rotting flesh. From the forest, she watched through her failing green-glowing eyes, her corrupted body already beginning to crack and flake. This was it, her final gambit, her last chance to prove that ruthlessness could triumph over trust. She was wrong. 6:47 a.m. The first wave. The zombies came in a coordinated mass, Alina's mental control pushing them forward with a singular purpose. Fast zombies led the charge, recently turned, still possessing muscle memory and speed. They sprinted towards the walls with unnatural agility, mouths open in silent screams, eyes milky white, flesh still mostly intact but rotting from the inside. The smell preceded them, a wall of putrid air that made even the wind recoil. On Riverside's walls, the defenders took position. Jenna stood at the center. Her long, dark hair whipped in the wind as she raised both hands. Her eyes glowed brilliant blue, not with corruption like Alina's sickly green, but with pure elemental power. "Hold the line!" Ryan's voice boomed across the battlements. The fast zombies hit the wall first. They clawed at the concrete, some climbing on each other's backs, creating grotesque ladders of undead flesh. Their fingernails tore off as they scraped against stone. Their jaws worked constantly, teeth grinding. One reached the top of the wall near a young defender named Chen. The zombie lunged. Jenna was there. She thrust her hand forward. Water erupted from the ground beneath the wall in a massive geyser, catching dozens of climbing zombies and launching them 50 feet into the air. They crashed down onto the horde below, shattering on impact. But more kept coming. "Water barrier!" Jenna commanded. The ground around Riverside's perimeter split open. Underground aquifers responded to her call, water surging upward in torrents, forming a moat 20 feet wide and 10 feet deep around the entire settlement. Zombies plunged into it, thrashing. Those who couldn't swim sank immediately. Those who could were met with Jenna's next attack. She swept her arms in a wide arc. The water froze. Instantly, hundreds of zombies trapped mid-motion in crystalline ice, perfectly preserved in their final moments of hunger and rage. The ice barrier stretched around the entire perimeter, a frozen graveyard of failed assault. Alina screamed from the forest, "More! Send more!" The second wave crashed forward. 7:15 a.m. Escalation. Alina sent the mutated ones. These were special. Zombies that had absorbed multiple crystal cores, their bodies twisted into something worse than undead. A tank zombie lumbered forward, 12 feet tall, muscles grotesquely swollen, skin stretched tight over impossible bulk, eyes glowing with the same corruption that consumed Alina. It crashed through the ice barrier like it was glass. "Heavy incoming!" James shouted from the east wall. Ryan was already moving. He leaped from the wall, crossbow slung across his back, landing in a combat roll. His black-veined arms, remnants of his immunity, pulsed with enhanced strength. The tank zombie swung a massive fist. Ryan dodged, sliding between its legs. He pulled a machete from his belt and drove it into the creature's Achilles tendon. Black blood sprayed. The zombie roared, an inhuman sound that echoed across the battlefield. Ryan climbed its back like a mountain, machete slashing. He reached the skull and drove the blade through the base of the neck, severing the spinal column. The tank zombie collapsed. Ryan rode it down, already rolling away as 3 more fast zombies lunged at him. Marcus intervened. Fire erupted from his hands, twin streams of flame that caught the fast zombies mid-leap. They screeched, flesh bubbling and blackening, falling to the ground as charred husks. "Thanks," Ryan called. "Don't mention it. Literal firepower incoming!" More mutated zombies appeared. Spitter zombies with distended jaws and swollen throats, spewing acidic bile that melted through metal and stone. Screamer zombies whose mouths had torn open impossibly wide, emitting sonic wails that shattered glass and ruptured eardrums. Crawler zombies that moved on all fours with spider-like speed, their spines twisted backwards, fingers elongated into claws. The defenders adapted. Jenna's water manipulation became a dance of death. First, she created ice spears by the dozens, launching them like guided missiles. Each one found a zombie eye socket or open mouth, penetrating deep into the brain. Crystal cores rolled across the battlefield like marbles. Then, she formed water whips that sliced through zombie necks with pressurized force, decapitating 10 at a time. Finally, she generated ice walls on demand, blocking spitter acid and creating choke points that funneled zombies into kill zones. Derek fought beside her. Clumsy compared to her grace, yes, but determined. He'd learned from his mistakes. A crawler zombie scuttled up the wall behind Jenna, moving in her blind spot. Derek saw it, didn't hesitate. He threw himself between them, machete swinging. The blade caught the crawler mid-leap, splitting its skull. "Behind you!" he shouted. Jenna spun, saw the threat eliminated, and nodded acknowledgement. No words needed. They'd never be married again, but they could be allies. That was enough. 9:30 a.m. The horde intensifies. Alina sent everything. 2,000 zombies hit the west wall simultaneously, a coordinated assault that threatened to overwhelm through sheer numbers. They climbed on each other, creating a pyramid of undead flesh 20 feet high. The ones at the bottom were crushed under the weight, but more kept coming, using the corpses as stairs. "West wall critical!" a defender screamed. Jenna's response was immediate and devastating. She thrust both hands skyward. Clouds gathered, darkened. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in seconds. Then it began to rain. But not water. Ice. Thousands of ice shards, each the size of a throwing knife, fell from the sky in a concentrated barrage over the west wall assault. They penetrated zombie skulls with perfect precision, guided by Jenna's will. The pyramid of corpses collapsed into a mountain of truly dead flesh. Crystal cores glittered in the carnage like deadly jewels. But the effort cost her. Jenna stumbled slightly, breathing hard. Creating that much ice from atmospheric moisture required enormous energy. Ryan was there instantly, supporting her. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Just give me 30 seconds. "You don't have 30 seconds. He pointed. From the forest, a behemoth zombie emerged, 15 feet tall, covered in armored plates of calcified bone, arms like tree trunks, a grotesque fusion of multiple zombies that had somehow merged into one massive entity. It carried a torn-off street lamp like a club. "Oh, hell," Marcus muttered. The behemoth charged. It crashed through the ice barrier without slowing, smashed through the outer defensive barricades, and headed straight for the main gate. "All fire on the behemoth," James commanded. Rifles cracked. Crossbow bolts flew. Marcus sent streams of flame. Nothing worked. The armored plating deflected everything. The behemoth kept coming. It reached the gate and swung its makeshift club. Boom! The gate shook. Cracks appeared in the reinforced steel. Boom! More cracks. The hinges groaned. Boom! The gate began to buckle. Jenna stepped forward, breathing still labored but eyes blazing with determination. "Ryan, Marcus, Derek, clear the area around the gate. Now!" They moved without question. Jenna placed both hands on the wall. Beneath the behemoth, the ground began to rumble. Then exploded upward in a geyser of pressurized water, a column 50 feet high with the force of a cannon. The behemoth was launched straight up into the air, flailing, its massive weight meaning nothing against that much hydraulic force. At the apex of its arc, 100 feet up, Jenna clenched her fists. The water froze. The behemoth froze with it. A 15-foot-tall ice sculpture of a monster suspended in midair for one perfect moment. Then gravity took over. It fell. Crash. The behemoth shattered on impact like a dropped chandelier. Ice and frozen zombie flesh scattered across the battlefield. The massive crystal core in its chest rolled free, glowing intensely. The defenders cheered. Jenna collapsed to one knee, completely drained. 11:45 a.m. Elena's desperation. From the forest, Elena watched her greatest weapon destroyed. Her corrupted body was failing faster now. Large patches of skin had sloughed off, revealing translucent muscle and black bone beneath. Her vision blurred, her mental connection to the horde was fragmenting. But she couldn't stop, wouldn't stop. She raised her claw-like hands and screamed, a sound of pure rage and desperation. Every zombie on the battlefield responded. They stopped attacking strategically, started attacking suicidally. Zombies threw themselves at the walls in waves, not caring about defense, only about overwhelming through numbers. They climbed over their own dead, created ramps of corpses, sacrificed themselves to create paths for others. The defenders struggled to keep up. "They're not stopping," Chen shouted, firing until his rifle overheated. "Ammo critical," another defender called. "East wall breach," James's voice cracked with urgency. A section of wall, weakened by the behemoth's assault, finally crumbled. Zombies poured through the gap. 50 of them made it into the outer courtyard before the defenders could react. Chaos erupted. Civilians screamed. Children ran for the inner safe house. Defenders tried to reposition. A fast zombie grabbed a young woman named Lisa, pulled her down, jaws opening wide. Jenna was there, exhausted, drained, but there. An ice spear materialized in her hand, formed from her own body's moisture at enormous personal cost, and she drove it through the zombie's skull. Then another, and another, and another. She moved through the courtyard like a dancer, each motion creating another weapon, another death. Ice spears, ice blades, ice shields protecting civilians. 20 zombies dead in 30 seconds. But it was killing her. Blood dripped from her nose, her hands shook, her legs barely supported her. Ryan saw it. "Jenna, fall back." "Not while they're inside." She created another ice spear and stumbled. Ryan made a decision. He grabbed a fallen zombie's core and crushed it in his hand. The power flooded through him. Temporary, dangerous, but effective. His black veins pulsed with energy. His strength doubled. He became a whirlwind of violence, moving faster than should be possible, stronger than human limits, tearing through zombies with bare hands enhanced by borrowed power. Marcus joined him, fire streaming from both hands, incinerating zombies in groups. Derek joined them, fighting with a desperate courage born from knowing he owed these people everything. James and his security teams created a defensive line, systematic headshots, and military precision. Together, they cleared the courtyard in 5 brutal minutes. But the cost was visible. 3 defenders down, 1 bitten, they'd have to quarantine him, several injured. And Jenna, their most powerful asset, is barely conscious. 2:14 p.m. The turning point. Elena's horde was decimated. Of 5,000, maybe 800 remained, and her control over them was failing. Elena's horde disintegrated. Of 5,000 zombies, maybe 800 remained, and her control over them was failing. She could feel it, the mental connection fraying like rotten rope. Her corruption had spread too far. Her body was shutting down. On the battlefield, zombies began to wander. The coordinated assault broke down into random shambling. On Riverside's walls, the defenders saw it too. They're losing cohesion, James observed. The zombie king is weakening, Marcus said, understanding dawning. Elena's dying. Jenna pushed herself upright. Ryan tried to stop her. You need to rest. I need to finish this. Her voice was steel, despite her exhaustion. One more push, that's all we need. She stumbled to the wall's edge, looked out at the scattered horde, raised her hands one final time, drew on the last reserves of her strength, pulling moisture from every source, the air, the plants, her own tears, and created the tsunami. A wall of water 50 feet high materialized behind the zombie horde, pulled from the underground aquifers with such force that the ground cracked and split. The zombies turned, too late. The wave crashed down. It swept across the battlefield like divine judgment, catching every remaining zombie, smashing them against the walls, crushing them under billions of gallons of water. When it receded, pulled back by Jenna's weakening control, the battlefield was scoured clean. Bodies broken, core scattered, threat eliminated. Jenna collapsed. Ryan caught her before she hit the ground. "I've got you," he whispered. "Did we win?" she asked, barely conscious. "Yes, you won." "Good." Her eyes fluttered closed. Marcus checked her pulse. "She's alive, just completely drained. She needs rest." They carried her inside as the defenders began to assess damage. Zombie casualties, approximately 4,800 destroyed. Riverside casualties, 3 dead, 1 infected, quarantined, 12 injured. Wall damage, 30% compromised, repairable. Supplies used, 70% of ammunition, significant medical resources. Morale shaken, but holding. The siege had lasted 12 hours. It felt like a lifetime. Day 2. Attrition. Elena sent her remaining zombies in scattered groups throughout the day. No coordination, no strategy, just desperate attacks from a dying queen. Each wave was smaller than the last. Each is easier to repel. By sunset of day 2, only 200 zombies remained of her original 5,000. And Elena herself was barely recognizable as human. Large sections of her body had simply fallen off. One arm was bone wrapped in translucent skin. Her face was a skull with patches of rotting flesh. Her glowing green eyes were the only sign of life in that decaying horror. The ghosts surrounded her constantly now. Sarah, Tommy, Margaret, James, Derek's entire family, even though most weren't dead, they haunted her guilt-corrupted mind. "You're losing," Sarah said. "I know. Why don't you stop?" "Because if I stop, I have to face what I've become." Elena's voice was a death rattle. "And I'm not strong enough for that." Day 3. The end of control. Dawn of the 3rd day. Elena tried to send her final 200 zombies forward. They didn't respond. Her mental connection had broken completely. The corruption had consumed too much of her brain. She was no longer the zombie king. Just a dying monster surrounded by mindless corpses. The zombies wandered off in random directions, drawn by distant sounds and smells. Elena collapsed to her knees. Her body was shutting down, pieces of flesh falling like autumn leaves. Black bone is visible everywhere. She should be dead already. But she wasn't. Not yet. Because Jenna was coming. Through failing vision, Elena saw her approach. Beautiful, healthy, victorious. Everything Elena had tried to destroy. Everything that had endured anyway. "Hello, Jenna," Elena's whispered, her voice like breaking glass and dry bones. And the final confrontation began. "You look terrible." "You look good, healthy, happy even." "I am." "I see you took Derek back." "I didn't take him back. He's on probation, working, contributing, earning his place." Jenna's voice was matter-of-fact. "We'll probably never be married again, but he's becoming a better person. That's enough." Elena looked past Jenna to where Derek stood on the walls, watching. His face was filled with pain, regret, grief. "Good. How did you do all this? Alina asked. How did you build paradise while I built nothing? I stopped trying to survive alone. I trusted people, let them help me, built something together. I tried that. Did you? Or did you try to control people, use them, keep them dependent so they couldn't leave? Alina thought of the compound, of cutting rations, of planning to kill children, of poisoning food. I wanted to survive. We all want to survive. The question is what we're willing to become to do it. Jenna tilted her head. What did you become? Alina looked at her hands. Claws. Rot. Corruption made visible. A monster. Yes. Did you know about what I did? The poisoning? The mercy killings I planned? Yes. Derek told me everything when he came. He was trying to confess, to face what he'd helped create. And you still let him stay? He didn't poison children. He didn't plan killings. He didn't become this. Jenna gestured at Alina's corrupted form. He made mistakes, terrible ones, but he's trying to be better. You made choices, and you kept making them, over and over, each one worse than the last. Is there a difference? Yes, mistakes come from weakness. Choices come from character. His character failed once. Yours failed repeatedly, deliberately. The truth settled like lead in Alina's chest. Was there ever a way? A path where I could have been different? Where I could have been good? Jenna was quiet for a long moment. Always, she said finally. You could have walked away when you found out Derek was married. You could have refused when Margaret encouraged the affair. You could have chosen honesty over manipulation, community over control, trust over fear. You had opportunities at every turn. You chose wrong every time. I was scared. So was everyone else. You're not special in your fear, Alina. You're just special in how you responded to it. Most people fight their worst instincts. You embraced yours. Alina felt tears burning down her corrupted face. They stung like acid. I'm sorry, she whispered. For all of it. For Derek, for the children, for becoming this thing. For hating you when you never did anything wrong. I'm so sorry. I know. Does it matter? No. Jenna's voice was kind but unwavering. Sorry doesn't undo what you did. It doesn't bring back the innocence you destroyed in those children. It doesn't fix Derek's broken character. It doesn't heal the people you hurt. It's just a word from a monster who realized too late what she'd become. Jenna raised her hand. Ice began forming around her fingers, sharp, perfect, lethal. Wait, Alina begged. Please, just tell me. Tell me it wasn't all for nothing. Tell me I mattered somehow. Jenna looked at her with something like pity. You mattered enough to make terrible choices, to destroy a marriage, to manipulate a family, to plan to murder children, to become this. Whether that's the kind of mattering you wanted, that's your question to answer. The ice spear formed completely. Any last words? Alina thought of Derek, of the children she'd poisoned, of Margaret who'd enabled her, of all the people she'd used and discarded, of who she could have been versus who she became. Tell Derek. She swallowed, tasting rot. Tell him he deserves better than both of us, that he should find someone who makes him want to be good, not someone who makes it easy to be bad. I will. And tell those children, Sarah and Tommy, tell them I'm glad they survived, that they were right to be afraid of me, that they should never trust people who calculate their worth. I will. And Jenna? Yes, you won. You were always going to win, not because you're stronger or smarter or more powerful, but because you chose to be human when the world stopped requiring it. That's something I never understood until it was too late. I know. Jenna drove the spear through Alina's skull. The last thing Alina saw was Sarah and Tommy, standing behind Jenna, smiling, healthy, alive, finally free of her shadow. The last thing she thought was, I wish I'd been brave enough to be kind. Then darkness, complete and final. Epilogue. What remains? Jenna walked back to Riverside as the sun rose. Behind her, Alina's body dissolved into gray ash. No core emerged, nothing of value remained, just empty air where a person used to be. Derek waited at the gate, face pale and haunted. Is it done? Yes. Did she say anything about me? She said you deserve better than both of you, that you should find someone who makes you want to be good. Derek's jaw clenched. I don't deserve better. I helped make her what she became. Yes, you did. Jenna didn't soften it. You chose her over me. You let your mother encourage the affair. You enabled someone you knew was ruthless and got surprised when she became monstrous. Those are choices you have to live with. I know. Do you? Because you keep asking for forgiveness, from me, from your family, from anyone who'll listen. But forgiveness isn't a transaction, Derek. It's not something you earn by feeling bad enough. Then what do I do? You live with it. You become better. You make different choices going forward. She paused. And you stop expecting the people you hurt to make you feel better about hurting them. Derek flinched, but nodded. Okay, I can do that. Good. There's a council meeting in an hour. We need to discuss integrating your family permanently. They're settling in well? Most of them. Sarah and Tommy are thriving now that they're getting proper nutrition and therapy. Margaret's helping in medical and seems genuinely remorseful. James is training new security teams. Linda's organizing the school. Your father, Richard, is finally treating people with respect regardless of their education level. Your family is finding their place. And me? Jenna stopped, looked back at him. You're still on probation, still earning your place through work and changed behavior, but you're doing better. Actual work, no more coasting on family connections. Will I ever... He couldn't finish. Be forgiven? Be loved again? Be welcomed fully? Jenna shook her head. I don't know, Derek. That depends on who you become, not who you were, not who you wish you were, who you actually become through your choices. She walked away. Derek stood at the gate, watching the sun rise over Riverside's walls, feeling the weight of his choices settling into his bones. He'd betrayed Jenna, enabled Alina, helped create a monster through his weakness and selfishness. He couldn't undo any of it. But maybe he could build something better going forward. 6 months later, Riverside had grown to 300 people. The vaccine research was progressing, food gardens flourished, children went to school, trade routes were established with other settlements. Civilization slowly rebuilding. Jenna stood on the walls at sunset, looking out at the world they'd reclaimed. Ryan joined her, took her hand. 6 months ago, she'd cured his crystallized virus completely. Now he was healthy, whole, and had asked her to marry him. She said yes. Thinking about her? Ryan asked. Alina? No. Thinking about all the people like her, the ones he'll choose fear over trust, control over the community, power over connection. There'll always be people like that. I know. That's why we have to be better, build better, show there's another way. You think Derek's learned that lesson? Jenna looked down into the courtyard where Derek worked in the gardens. 6 months of hard labor had changed him, made him stronger, humbler, more genuine. He started therapy, started apologizing to people he'd hurt, started building real relationships based on honesty instead of convenience. Maybe, she said. Time will tell. And if he hasn't? Then he leaves. Simple as that. She squeezed Ryan's hand. I'm done saving people from themselves. I'll offer opportunities, but the work of becoming better, that's on them. They stood in comfortable silence as stars emerged overhead. Somewhere in the ruins of the city, Alina's ashes mixed with the soil. Nothing grew there, nothing would. Some ground was too poisoned for new life.
The end.